Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a legal battle that's, well, pretty complex, playing out at one of America's oldest institutions, Harvard University.
Mm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into Harvard's ongoing legal fight with the U.S. government over its international students.
Yeah, it's got a lot of twists and turns.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We'll explore this dispute, what it means for thousands of students, and maybe what it reveals about higher education today.
And what's really striking here is just how many layers there are. It's not just a legal thing. It's policy. It's international relations.
Right.
And it's about the identity of places like Harvard. So connecting these dots for you, I think, is really key to getting the full picture.
Absolutely. And this conflict isn't just simmering, it feels like it's boiling over. We just saw a pretty big legal development.
Contemporary block, yeah.
Exactly. A federal judge, Allison Burroughs, she basically gave Harvard a lifeline, temporarily stopping the Trump administration's efforts to block the university from hosting international students.
So this preserves Harvard's ability to keep its foreign students, at least while the bigger case moves forward.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is this isn't the first win for Harvard in these kinds of challenges lately. It sort of signals the court might be a bit skeptical here.
And the numbers involved are significant, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about roughly 7,000 foreign students at Harvard. That's, what, like a quarter of their total enrollment?
Wow, a quarter.
Yeah. And this certification they're fighting over, it's not just paperwork. It's the actual license Harvard needs to bring a student in or let them stay.
So taking it away is basically
Pulling the plug, exactly.
Right.
On their entire international program, think about that. Thousands of lives just thrown into uncertainty.
right. But to really get why this temporary block is such a big deal, we need to rewind a bit. This fight didn't just start yesterday.
No, not at all. The Trump administration and Harvard, they've been kind of sparring for months now. It's rooted in something deeper.
Ideological tensions.
Seems like it. If you look behind the curtain, the administration's moves, they seem tied to these long-running conservative complaints. You know, that Harvard's too liberal and that they've, in the administration's view, tolerated anti-Jewish harassment. It's part of this bigger picture, this conservative view of elite universities as, like, ideological battlegrounds.
And they're using federal power to try and reshape things.
That seems to be the strategy. Visas, research grants, you name it, trying to influence campus culture, maybe push back against what they see as woke policies. That's sort of the backdrop for these sanctions.
And the specific actions were pretty aggressive. Our sources detail, back in May, DHS actually pulled Harvard certification to host foreign students.
Right, the core license we just talked about.
Then just, less than 2 weeks later, in early June, another move, this time to block foreign students from even entering the U.S. to go to Harvard. And they used a different legal reason that time.
Yeah, they pivoted. First, it might have looked like compliance issues, you know, paperwork or records. But the second move invoked like a broader national security rationale, which is often harder to challenge in court. It's a common play in immigration policy.
And this wasn't happening in a vacuum either. There were earlier things like cutting billions in research grants, ending contracts.
Even threatening their tax-exempt status. It was a whole sequence.
Yeah. And Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, she demanded records back in April. When Harvard responded, she apparently said it fell short.
Implying, you know, they didn't cooperate enough or meet her standards.
And boom, May 22nd, she revoked the certification.
But Harvard pushed back hard. They sued DHS almost immediately.
Calling it what? Illegal retaliation?
Exactly. Illegal retaliation because Harvard refused to overhaul its policies on things like campus protests, admissions, hiring.
Things they see as core principles.
Right. The university basically said, look, without our international students, Harvard is not Harvard. They argued these moves wreck their global reputation.
And make it harder to attract the best students from around the world. Puts them at a disadvantage.
And President Alan Garber, he said, yes, we've made changes like new protest guidelines, more programs to combat anti-Semitism. But we won't bend on our core legally protected principles, even with all this federal pressure.
And what about the students? The ones actually caught in the middle of all this?
Yeah, imagine being one of them.
The university talked about profound fear, concern, and confusion. You can just picture it, right? Investing years, money.
Suddenly facing deportation, your studies up in the air, waking up to panicked emails, wondering if you need to pack your bags.
It must have been incredibly stressful, not just academic stress, but deeply personal.
Absolutely. And we heard some overseas universities, like a couple in Hong Kong, even started offering invitations to transfer.
Wow.
Which just raises this really important question, doesn't it? What does all this mean for the stability, the well-being of international students when they get caught up in these political fights?
Yeah, their lives get massively disrupted by these sudden policy shifts.
Right.
Shows how vulnerable they are.
Definitely highlights a vulnerability in the system.
So summing up here, we're watching this major legal showdown. A top university versus government policy.
With huge real-world consequences for thousands of students and maybe for the future of global education exchange.
It really makes you think.
Yeah, and it leaves us, and you listening, with this bigger question. What are the broader implications here for, how independent universities can be, for the free flow of knowledge globally? What's the future for international education in the U.S.? It's definitely a question that goes way beyond just Harvard.